So, hi again. Today life is good. I have a beer and I'm up super late, but I thought this would be a perfect time to talk about music. Now, music is very different when it comes to video games if we compare it to a media like film or theater or whatever, or just say like normal music for like an album by an artist, because it is unpredictable when it comes to video games. You can never really predict what the player is gonna do next, so that kind of puts us in a difficult position when we're gonna make music for a video game. Because how do we make a theme or a piece of music if we don't know what the player is gonna decide to do next? There are a lot of different ways to tackle this issue, and one of the most popular ways is to make the music extremely mood-based. Is to focus a lot on the atmosphere instead of trying to guess what the player is gonna do next, because that could end up in some really embarrassing, cringy, or just flat out funny moments. Like, say, if you're lighting a candle and some epic theme comes on.
Epic.
Well, it's just gonna look ridiculous because it's such a mediocre, normal thing to do, to light a candle, and to have like an epic theme playing, then it's just gonna look like, yeah, the most epic lighting of a candle ever, which is just, well, hilarious and might be off-putting to the overall theme and atmosphere and mood that you're trying to create for a scene. If something just goes horribly wrong, it's just gonna take away from the overall experience of the game. So when I make music for a video game, I try to focus more on creating a mood that is consistent no matter what is happening in the scene. So for darker, I'm going for a sinister, eerie sort of touch. That wouldn't, that isn't entirely dependent on what the player is doing, or that he has to do it in a specific order, or like a certain event or something that is happening at the moment. If we take a look at this piece of music for the first level, we're trying to put a introductory note to the atmosphere, and I think a good way to do that is not to go too epic. That doesn't mean that we should only have like mood music. Of course, we can have like grand themes in a video game. A lot of games have that. Take Skyrim, for example. I think they have a beautiful soundtrack that is varied from very thematic and mood-setting music to epic. But you have to figure out in what way the music fits in your scene. So one great way is to have it take the role of sort of a sound design. So say if something scary happens, we hear a scary theme, or if we connect emotionally to a piece of music, that helps the experience of the game a lot. So if we have certain events in the game that when they happen we play the same piece of music, then the player is gonna feel that this piece of music is connected somehow to the event that's happening. So if there is something scary about to happen, we can start playing a theme of music before that, and that would create a sense of anticipation in the player. That can help the experience a lot. And I think that games should not cower away from writing very short pieces of music. I was recently playing the Life is Strange game, the first one, and I noticed a lot of different musical things that they do. They have a lot of ambient music, of course, but they also have this sort of melody that plays it super short, like only a couple of seconds, that plays when you get this sort of notification that this action that you've done in the game is gonna have consequences.
Good job, Dr. Max.
So that is, I think it's great what they do there, because that really puts a sense of anticipation into the eye of the player, and that this action that they have done is gonna have consequences. And every time I hear that music, I get this sort of, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. A great way to implement this in a game is like, say if you're getting up a notification that says like you have a new objective, you could have like this very short melody that plays, and that would tell the player that something new is about to happen. Like that would tell the player that there is something new that's about to happen, and you have like a new mission and a new thing that you're gonna do. And so I was thinking about how I could implement that, and one of the things that came to mind was to use the music sort of as a guide. So if the player is lost, maybe he doesn't really figure out what to do, then we could have like, if he gets close to a clue or something, we have this music playing that would like tell him that he's on the right track. Or like say if we enter a new area that is like we haven't explored yet, we'll show somehow through the music that this area is going to be important. And I was also thinking about expanding this idea of using the music as a guide to actually have a soundtrack for a scene, and when you're done with that scene, you could like have the soundtrack stop. So when the music stops, you know that you're finished there. You don't need to explore more or find there aren't any more clues. And of course, this sort of system will just like help guide the player, which is what we want to do, both visually and through audio, and of course through storytelling. And something that I'm looking forward to is to see the music play together with the script, like what the characters are saying and what is happening in the scene. Like I mean, it would be quite boring if we just get this like clue theme when we get a clue, but nothing else happens. But if we get this clue theme together, if we hear it, we find a new clue and we hear this music, and the main character has some reflection about it, that would, I think, greatly improve that would really set a nice tone. So I'm really looking forward to see that in action. And when it comes to scares, I think it's important to not go too epic on the scare music, especially not for if the scares or the scary moment isn't all that big. You really shouldn't overdo it, because that would just look stupid. Because one of the things that happen when you put epic music in a place that isn't all that epic, that is sort of gonna take away the effect that music is gonna have when you actually need it. For like, if you are trying to build up towards a very suspenseful scene, like a major scare or something, you're going to need a lot of build up through story, a lot of build up through audios and visually, of course. But what you could do is to take this a step further and implement it in your music. And that would mean that you're like, for our first chapter of the Darker game, we're trying to build a sinister mood that is sort of slowly seeping into the scene. It starts off as the character not really knowing what's going on, and then as you find more clues and you start to realize that you're gotten yourself involved in something a lot sinister, the music complements that emotional aspect of that. And because music is extremely emotional, and that is something that we need to remember. So a way to make the player connect emotionally to your story and the suspense that you're trying to build is to do it through music. I think that is a very effective way to do it, and it really builds mood. Of course, what I'm saying right now is maybe mostly applicable for story type games, but if you're making a game like, say, Stardew Valley, you won't have to think about it that much. Stardew Valley has beautiful music that really sets the mood. It got me emotionally involved in the game because it really sort of brings out the atmosphere that is Stardew Valley, and it like sets this homely vibe that really you just want to spend time in that world. So the way you can use the music in your game, try to keep it relevant to your project. So don't make unnecessary complex score or leitmotifs for a game that doesn't actually really need it. That would just be a waste of time. But of course, I mean, for a lot of people, it's just fun making music. And if you are a game developer that doesn't make music, I would recommend getting in contact with someone that would get involved in your project and really try to make the mood and the atmosphere that you're trying to create with your project come out. Because without that, I think personally that without a score that is made with a certain degree of love, you're not gonna get the same emotional reaction from your player. I really believe that when the score is made with emotion, that is gonna shine through your project, and that is gonna get the viewer involved, which is what we want. And that is all. See you guys later, maybe in another dev update or whenever. Yeah. Please comment if there's anything you want to know, or if you like this type of content. Maybe you want some more tutorials or whatever. Just put that below.